Hello and welcome to the second video in this series for about the introduction to digital art and design. And this video is about tools and the next about techniques in drawing. I will show you some tools like Copic Markers, like charcoal pencils, graphite pencils, and I will compare these. And in the next video we will talk about how to use them. In this video also I'm going to discuss briefly some digital tools and show you the pros and cons about them, so that you can choose wisely instead of just buying the most expensive one. So let's begin. What is drawing actually? This is from Wikipedia. So to give you a brief overview, drawing is a form of visual art in which a person uses various drawing instruments to mark paper or another two-dimensional medium with graphite, ink or charcoal, and so on. A drawing instrument releases a small amount of material onto a surface, leaving a visual mark. Drawing instruments like a pencil, for example. Drawing is not painting. Painting is the practice of applying paint, pigment, color, or other medium to a solid surface. The medium is commonly applied to the base with a brush, but other implements such as knives, sponges, or airbrushes can be used. A common example of mixing both might be drawing outlines first and adding the color later on. So, here are some tools, and I will go through them from left to right, and the left one is a brush tip pen, and this means it's actually like a marker, and it has a tip like a brush. So this basically here, and you can see when I drag this way the line goes like this, and when I go this way the line becomes very bright. It's like a brush, and it's actually for me pretty interesting and fun. Okay, then we have the Copic Markers, and Copic Markers come with two tips. There are other Copic Markers as well, so you have this tip on the one side and this, or either this but even bigger than this on the other side. And what you should know about all of these, is you can only work from bright to dark and not the other way around. Okay, now we have pencils, and this one I believe is the polychromos pencil, and polychromos means it's basically pigment, color pigment, and some oil in it. So yeah, you can have, it's like, what do you call it? There are others, it's basically standard color pencil you can buy anywhere, you know, and they're okay to work with as well. So then we have charcoal, and charcoal comes with different degrees of hardness, so to speak. Try it out for yourself. Go to your art supply store of your choice and try it out. And then we also have different types of pencils, and they come with different hardness, and there are graphite, and they come with a different width. And yeah, again, go figure it out yourself. because different types of artists prefer different types of material. Then we have a fine liner and a ballpoint pen, and this may be something you don't hear that often, but it's used quite a lot for outlines. So basically you could start trying making outlines with a graphite pencil, and later on refine these outlines with a marker or with a fine liner, excuse me. Or if you want to challenge yourself, you could start with the ballpoint pen right away, and you have to be just very careful with the pressure in the beginning, as long as you're not sure if this is the final line. Look at this line, for example, with less pressure, and these lines with more pressure. Alright. What's the difference between graphite and charcoal? Oh, no, more tools. Very important, of course, linear and triangle. Then different types of paper. When you buy very thin paper, for example, you can look through it and trace what's underneath it. When you have very thick paper, it's cooler for print. Then we have the compass, we have ellipse guides or ellipse templates or circle templates, and I also here have a mirror, and this way I can look at the drawing from another angle, and this way makes it appear differently to my brain, so to speak, and this way I can see, for example, perspective mistakes and other stuff. Yeah, and that helps me fix problems. Alright, and here we see the difference in the tools, and especially in the pencils. And this is the graphite pencil, and what you can see here now is we can create gradients, but we can't go to an entire black value. Alright. On the other hand, with the Copic markers we can create black. We can also create gradients, but we can only work from light to dark and not the other way around. I will go more into that in the techniques video. And here we have the different types of pencils. Well, yeah, I call it pencils, the charcoal and the polychromos. And you can see with the polychromos we can get pretty dark. With the charcoal as well, actually I believe it's because of the light that this is not entirely black. And with the oil in it we can also smudge a bit around and improve our gradients. Well, that has been recommended to me at the art supply store. If you get a Copic blender, a colorless blender, you can use it, but more on that on the techniques video. And then a tool I do not use, but I want to briefly mention it because it's still being used in big companies like, for example, Pixar, and yeah, probably for a movie production. I don't know, I only tried it out for one afternoon, and it's fun, but not not really important to me at this point. And this is called gouache. Let's see. I believe it's written this way, and yeah, and it's a color, and it has the advantages of oil color and acrylic. It combines both. What this is exactly, what it means, go look it up on Wikipedia. Yeah, it's still something that people use a lot. So, or, I don't know, in Germany, in the games industry, we don't. We just work mostly in digital, and I guess many people nowadays work in digital most of the time, but yeah, it's still being used, and it's part of the history of matte painting and stuff like that, for example. Okay. So this is a slide showing some of the techniques, what I will do in the next video. This is just for my students to show them briefly, and here's the first slide showing some digital tools. And what you can see is the Wacom Cintiq 21UX. It's one of the older Cintiqs. This means it's not HD, and it has not this widescreen format. I own this, and I bought it because it has been recommended to me, basically. It's not that expensive, and the screen for the 22 HD, which would be the successor, so to speak, has an anti-glare coat, which makes it appear darker, and the color space is smaller, which means it doesn't show that many colors. And what else? Well, some people complain about the widescreen. I don't know. Might be true. I'm actually quite comfortable with the 21UX format. I like that. And the only thing I probably don't really like about it is the resolution, I guess. But it was way cheaper, and I don't know, on the conceptart.org forums, people said, get the older one. And the bigger ones, the 24 HD and 27 HD, I don't know which one of them does not have the anti-glare coat. But then again, it's so damn big, I don't know, you don't want to have it on your desk all the time, because my god, I've heard it weighs so much you can't even really move it around that easily, so I don't know, screw it. Okay, next. This one is my very nice and pretty old Intuos 3. It's the special edition widescreen. No, I don't know. It's like Wacom Intuos 3 special edition, and it's relatively big. It's like an A3, I believe. No, it's A4. And it's what's so special about it is this has not the original plastic sheet on it on which you draw. You can see I dug it out and made a photo of it just because of that, because this white thing here is not the original, and after the old one got, I don't know, worked through, so to speak, it's broken basically from work, you know, and I had to replace it. And Wacom doesn't produce the replacement covers anymore. And a friend of mine and we went to some, I don't know, electronics or hardware supply store, and we got us this plastic sheet, and we cut it and glued it onto the tablet, and I have to say it feels really great, and it's way better than the original cover. The only problem is that it lasts for only half a year or so, but it costs like, I don't know, €1 and not 50, you know. So that's pretty damn cool, and I still have it. I just use the Cintiq most of the time at this point. And I also have the Intuos 4, and I never used that. I have the, wait a minute. No, I do have the Intuos Pro, because I wanted to replace this, but I never needed it. After figuring out this solution, I never used it. I did use the Intuos 4 a couple of years ago at work, at my company, and what I can say about that is the tips of your pens, they last for only, I don't know, half a year or so. It's very interesting. You have to replace them way more often than the older versions. Alright. This one, ignore this thing, is the Surface Pro 3, the i7 version with, I don't know, 8 GB RAM, and you can paint on it. You do have your own stylus, so to speak. Stylus is the pen which comes with it, and I don't recommend it. I have seen so many YouTube videos where artists recommend it, and I hate it. I do not recommend it. Well, it's okay for my way of using it. You know, I bought it for presentations and for using it at the school. So for small images and showing off videos and presentations, it's perfect. And for design sketches, but it doesn't have enough performance for really big illustrations, and there are some very weird things going on with the pen. I needed like 3 days installing and hacking all kinds of things until I thought, yeah, okay, now it's fun. But still, I'm not really 100% happy with it. Also, I don't know, Microsoft is messing around with Windows and Surface drivers, you know, the firmware. And for example, what I had was one day I couldn't turn on and shut down the Surface anymore, and this was because of a firmware update which you can't prevent from happening. You know, Microsoft Windows 10, you do have to make your updates, and the firmware updates come for the Surface with a regular Windows update. So yeah, I had to set I don't know how you call it in English. I had to go to another reset point, so to speak, you know, and set my Windows back, and then it worked. And then I had to disable the Windows Update service somewhere in the services, and yeah, I've been enabling it once every 2 months or so to update my Surface, and then I keep it disabled for the rest of the time. Okay, so yeah, I don't know if you want to buy a tablet, and especially something with a screen inside of it, try it out for yourself and don't trust on YouTube videos, and also take a look at the size of the tablet and at your screen, especially if you do not use a screen in it. And this is simply because if you have a screen that's like this and you have a tablet that is like this in size, you know, that's the screen, and now you drag a line and you project the entire tablet screen or tablet surface, the drawing surface on the screen. Now the same line goes like boom, like this, and it's basically disproportionate, and your brain will have to think a lot. Instead of just focusing on the drawing, you have to think about what it actually does on the screen, and that can be very annoying, especially when you draw a lot. When you paint a lot, maybe that's not as annoying, but especially when you have to draw circles, that might be annoying. What you can do though is you can use a different projection method, and which means the Wacom driver only take a small part of the screen, and you can choose which part and how many pixels, I mean this the size of the rectangle you draw in, and then you only can draw inside of this rectangle. So it all has its pros and cons, you know, and you can choose. Alright, and I think that's it for this video, and the next one will come very soon. I actually recorded this presentation and the techniques video already, and I used this Copic Pen tool and OBS and recorded happily for an hour or so until I watched the recordings and realized, wow, OBS didn't record what I drew with Copic Pen. So I had to figure that out, why that is and stuff, and now I have to record it again basically. So stay tuned for the next video, and yeah, enjoy your time drawing. Bye bye.